Most non-US business owners believe that American credit is off limits. They believe that they can't access it because they don't live in the US or they don't have a social security number. And others believe that the only card that they can get is one that goes on their business, like a Mercury credit card or a Brex card. Here's the truth, there's actually two ways to get your hands on American credit cards as a non-US citizen. And one of those doors, in fact, unlocks all of the advantages that the typical American has, such as access to the Chase Sapphire Reserve, the Amex Platinum, and those premium travel credit cards, as well as those business credit cards that have very good terms that'll put you at an advantage. So in today's video, I'm actually going to break down the two ways for you to get your hands on American credit, which, by the way, most people don't even know is possible as a non-US citizen, non-US resident. So it's very important for you as a business owner to understand the two ways of getting your hands on a credit card for your LLC. If you're watching this video, you're most likely having a LLC in the USA, or you're considering getting your hands on an LLC so you can set up your corporate structure in that way. Now, this is not the video that's going to talk about corporate structures and whatnot, but there's two ways to get your hands on American credit cards for that business, right? Because I'm assuming that you want to get a credit card for your business so you can start spending money. You can get some credit lines because it might be a bit hard to get loans and credit lines in your own country. So basically, the two ways are either being a personal guarantor on that card or a non-personal guarantor. Now, not to get too technical, basically, non-personal guarantor cards are essentially credit cards that don't require your own credit to actually get that approved. So say, for example, you were to go to a bank right now and you were to ask for a credit card. If they were to ask to check your personal credit to then get that business credit card, then that's a personal guarantor based card, right? Because they are giving you that business credit card basically on the understanding of your personal credit. They believe that you might be good with your payments and whatnot. So it's based on your credit. Now, a non-personal guarantor card is essentially a card that is based on your LLC. It's based on your liquidity. It's based on the money that you're moving in these specific accounts. So just kind of giving you an example, there are typical accounts that you might open up as a businessman. You've got a US LLC, one including a Mercury account. They actually offer a credit card on that specific Mercury account. And that type of credit card does not require you to actually prove that you've got a good credit standing. All that it requires is 3 months, 6 months of high liquidity inside of those accounts. And then they're going to offer that business credit card. So that's an example of a non-personal guarantor based credit card because it is based on the liquidity or basically the health of your LLC specifically. Now, talk about personal guarantor based credit cards. Those credit cards essentially are based on the credit on the personal side to give you an approval on your business. So they're essentially utilizing your history of positive payments on your personal credit cards to give you an approval on the business side. So those are the two ways that you can actually get your hands on a credit card for your US LLC. And so now to break down those two paths in a bit more detail, let's start with path number one, which is the path that typically most non-US entrepreneurs take, which is the path of getting access to a non-personal guarantor based credit card, or you would call it corporate credit card. These are the ones that are on Brex, Mercury, and whatnot. And so this is a good option if you've got a lot of liquidity in your accounts. You've got an account like Mercury, you've got an account like Brex, and basically what you're doing over here is you've got a lot of deposits, a lot of liquidity inside of your specific bank account, which allows you to actually get approvals on that non-personal guarantor based side. And these types of fintech US banks will only determine your approvals typically based on how long you've had your account and what's the health of your current standings with that specific bank, right? So for example, if I was to open up a Mercury account right now, Mercury, it is one of the biggest fintech banks. A lot of non-US citizens use Mercury, so I'll use that example over here. Basically, if you had a Mercury account with good amount of liquidity, then they'll give you a specific offer giving you a corporate credit card. That is a non-personal guarantor based credit card. And these types of credit cards typically have lower credit limits and lower rewards because it's not based on your credit, it's based on your liquidity. And in that context, they're able to not offer as much as if they were checking your personal credit. And that's honestly why I prefer the second method, which is getting access to the Amex, the Chase Sapphire, all of those credit cards that require you to have a personal credit identity in America. This gives you such an advantage as a non-US citizen. But the upsides of following the first path is essentially it's easier and faster to get, I would say, in some circumstances. No personal credit is needed specifically, and it works as a starting starter option specifically, right? So if you don't really want to establish your personal credit in America and you don't plan to do that in any way, then this is really your only option specifically. Now, here's the downsides of going about this specific method. You're going to get lower approvals. You're going to have weak rewards. You're going to rarely get about 2% cash back. The best I've seen on a corporate credit card, like the Slash accounts, the Brex accounts, Mercury accounts, you'll get 2% cash back or 1% cash back, but that's the furthest that you'll get. Versus if you had a Chase Sapphire Reserve or the business credit cards that are with Amex and Chase and whatnot, you're getting really good rewards. You're getting 4x, 5x on certain points categories. And on top of that, you're not really getting any premium travel perks with these kind of credit cards. So you don't really get the advantages that you get on the personal guarantor side of things. So now let's talk about the second method, which is the method that I prefer, which is actually establishing personal credit in America as a non-US citizen and non-US resident so that you can get your hands on the 6-figure, 0% interest, really good credit cards that either are the travel credit cards and will give you so many different advantages. So let's start over here. Essentially, if you want to get access to these credit cards, it doesn't involve Mercury, Brex, and whatnot. It involves the big 5 banks. It involves the established banks in America, which is typically available to most US citizens, right? So basically what you would need to do over here is you would establish your personal credits by getting your ITIN first. You get this ITIN, which is the individual taxpayer identification number. You build your credit upon that specific number, which by the way, doesn't create any tax obligations if you live in a other country. You don't need to necessarily change your tax structure and whatnot. There's many different videos on my channel talking about what an ITIN is specifically, so you can take a look at those. Basically, when it comes to going on the second path, you're establishing your personal credit, which takes a few months time, and then you use that personal credit to then get approvals for business credit cards, right? And typically these business credit cards are much better compared to the corporate credit cards, and it doesn't even require you to have tons of liquidity on your specific bank account. You can technically have 10 grand or $1,000 in your bank account and you can still get an approval for a 6-figure credit limit or whatnot. And so really the point of doing this is that it unlocks the big 5 banks. So it unlocks Chase, Amex, Citibank, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, all the big banks, which offer really good credit limits, basically really good business funding specifically. So you don't need to go and ask specific lenders and get access to loans. You can literally fund your business through your business credit cards. So you get 6-figure credit limits, 0% interest terms between 12 to 21 months. You get really good rewards, right? You're getting 4x, 3x, sometimes even 7x points per dollar that you spend, as well as the flexibility that corporate cards just cannot match. And so this is the exact system that we help non-US citizens partake because of the fact that once you have personal credit established, whichever company that you decide to build or whatnot, you start a new LLC or whatnot, you can utilize that foundation of personal credit to then get access to another business credit card or whatnot. So this is very valuable, honestly. If you're a serious business owner and you might be traveling or you want to get access to funding, you get very good terms and really good travel benefits from that. So if you've been told that you can't access American credit as a non-US citizen, it is completely false. It's absolutely possible for you to do so. And the first step is actually by getting your hands on your ITIN, the individual taxpayer identification number. And so if you want to learn more about that specifically, I've actually linked a video over here regarding the process on getting your hands on that ITIN and eventually building up your personal credit inside of America. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Make sure to subscribe and I will see you on the next one.